Oh, wait. Oh, it buffed. Okay. Hey, what's up, fam? It's your boy Chris. I'm back at it again on the Crystal Inc. podcast. You already know what time it is. If you can read the title, you already know I got Richard Fairgray in here. Big dude, one of the best people I've ever met in my life, and I don't get out much. So, Richard Fairgray, before we get into what you make, give us a little spiel of what you have made.
I still am so hung up on this. Why do you not have your video on? Like, what are you hiding?
I am the sickest person on the internet right now. I can't show off my face.
So this is going to be a situation where I'm just looking at myself the whole time.
I mean, isn't that what you already do?
I bought a no. I was about to do a really fucking terrible joke, and I'm not going to fucking do it. Fuck it. Like no one's here to tell me I can't. I bought a mirror for drawing like looking at facial expressions while I draw, and it says on it 10 times magnification, but like there's no way to tell how many times it had already been used in the store.
Wait,
Come
can
on, that's
can
that's
can you
that's a
use
good
a mirror?
that's a good joke. Come on.
Yeah, but like I'm not really here. I'm
Ay.
contemplating all this head cold. I'm sorry.
Can you just like if you just blew your nose really hard? Do you believe in the notion of like origin snot? Like if you find the first piece deep down, that's the cure. There's
Yes,
this
I do
episode
believe in that.
of Ren and Stimpy where they pull their way up a big dripping thing of snot, and it pulls out this like the pink of the inside of the nose, and it pops out. And I've been thinking about that now for well over 30 years. So I don't know, maybe try that.
I tried it. I've eaten spicy food today, and it kind of
Mhm.
worked. But I'm just stuffed up. I'm gonna have to just deal with it.
Have you ever tried a neti pot?
I who is she?
It's the thing where you pour warm water with salt in it in one nostril, and then it comes out your other nostril, and it's gone through all your sinuses. And I didn't have one. You can just buy a thing called a neti pot, and I didn't have one. I was like, I bet a teapot would work. So I had my teapot, and I just would keep it in the shower with me, and with some. Then I'd take some salt in each day and add to it, and just do like a full on rinse out. It kind of feels like when you get like dunked by a bad wave when you're at the beach. I'm kind of a beach guy, you can kind of tell. But it's sort of painful and bad, but like in the way where you feel like it must be doing something. And then I was reading this thing on the internet that was like it's pretty common to die from using these. They're not medicine. They can just dry out everything and destroy you. So don't.
And you told
Um,
me to do these?
I'm saying I still do it occasionally because it does make you really feel like something's happening.
Yeah, I don't want to die
Ever?
now.
Okay.
I got things to do.
Are you drinking or am I drinking alone?
I was drinking, and then my
Okay.
wife said, "No, you're sick. Put it down." So I put it down.
Okay. Well, that's I put vodka. I put tonic in my vodka so that it would be a little more controlled because I do have this feeling like the two of us together could get messy. Sorry, you asked me an interview question. I should have paid attention to it. What was it? I've mostly talked about snot at this point.
No, that was I knew that was gonna happen. I have a plan for that. Damn, what I asked you? Oh, I asked you before we get to Ex-Wives of Frankenstein.
Hmm.
What are you known for?
Jesus. Depending who you ask, visiting a lot of sex clubs and fucking the elderly. But comic wise, uh, this is my 14 book year. I'm trying to get 300 books out by the time I'm 40, and I'm currently 38, same age as Homer Simpson. Not to brag, um, but I'm doing Jesus, what am I doing? So, Four Color Heroes just came out, which is my YA romance about two boys who fall in love through comic books. One of them isn't allowed to read comics, so the other one sees a loophole and says, I'll describe them to you. And throughout the story, we never see the real comics, only how one of the boys imagines them. And as their lives pull them further apart, every month there's a reason for them to find a place to talk and come together again because a new issue of their favorite comics has come out. My memoir, Octopus, a memoir of flailing, came out earlier this year, which covers 18 months of my life where I got divorced, stole a boat, tried to disappear at sea, got jerked off by a supervillain at a train station, broke up with my shitty boyfriend, moved to Hollywood, met a nice retired florist, and tried to not destroy him by turning into an octopus. Again, with a lot of sex clubs and bad decisions along the way. I have a series called Haunted Hill about a 35-year-old dirtbag problematizing her way through Hollywood. That is sort of a surrealist soap opera told in real time. And I used to do kids stuff. I had a series called Blastosaurus about a crime-fighting triceratops. I had a series called Black Sand Beach, which is currently in production as a TV show, about 4 kids spending the summer at a beach where darkness is oozing its way through the sand and corrupting and mutating everything it touches. And what else? I mean, there's this book is my 275th published book, so there's a lot. But those are kind of the big ones. I had a graphic novel out at the end of last year, beginning of this year, called Shed, which is about a woman who moves to a small town in her late 20s, looking for a happy ending. But the reveal is you really shouldn't be looking for any kind of ending, no matter how old you are. And it's a sort of atmospheric horror about repression and sea monsters.
So what I'm hearing is that I should be going to more sex dungeons and whatnot.
You should. I don't even know what state you're in. Where are you?
I'm in Indiana.
I don't know any sex clubs there.
Me neither. I've been looking.
Are you on Squirt?
I'm the soda?
No, Squirt, the website, squirt.org.
No.
It's my favorite fucking website because it's a .org, which is insane. It's a website where you can like see who's local. It's kind of like Grindr, but just in a browser and kind of shitty, and no one really uses it. But what it does have is local listings for truck stops, bathrooms, sex shops, gay bars, and bathhouses or saunas. And you can search it by location, and so you can find out where the nearby sex clubs are, and people will have written recommendations, a list of like what kind of people go there, comments from people who are there right now. It's pretty useful.
You said squirt.org.
Yep.
Yeah, let me. Oh, okay. All right. So I know what I'll be doing after this. You gave me something to do. This is first. I'm curious about how this red state works when it comes to like things like that.
I'll tell you this: whenever you're in a red state, there is plenty of gay sex to be had, but you've got a lot more repressed men who are pretending they're still straight, which is just shorthand for they don't know how to clean their butts.
This has been a extremely informative show, and we haven't even gotten to Ex-Wives of Frankenstein. I want everybody to take out your little notepads and whatnot and start writing down these notes. I'm serious.
Lived a life, and I like to help.
Yes. So given your comic background, you are in fact a gay male.
I'm a bisexual, or I prefer the term dragnet, that just kind of gathering whatever I can to my crotch. But yeah.
All right, I am too one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give for any type of like experience or up and coming gay writer who's trying to figure out like how should I place myself into this field? Should I put the moniker in front that I'm gay, or should I make just gay books? Like how should somebody move around?
I think that people kind of instinctively know whether or not, like, if you want to tell gay stories, tell gay stories. If you want to tell stories about your own life, do. If you want to have stuff that feels real and grounded, or like the emotional charge behind it is plausible, you're probably going to end up naturally telling the kind of stories that you relate to. I think that like starting out with the intention of this one's going to be a gay one, I think is a bad idea, because by and large you'll end up with something pretty run of the mill, because you're setting yourself too much of a limitation. That being said, the older I get, the grumpier I get, and I am pretty determined to put not just gay characters, but gay dirtbag characters in most of my stories. I like complicated, messy people, and I don't think there are enough of them in the world. You know what? I'm going to take back all of my advice and I'll say this: make the kind of books that you would want to read. It really is that simple. Like if you look and you say there's no books like this and I wish there were because I would want to read them, that's the book you should be making. And if that's a gay story, so be it. If it's not, so be it. But think about who are the characters that you're not seeing in the world that you wish were there, and make the sloppy, weird, nuanced versions of those.
I really hope that you were being super informative, because I was perusing through Squirt the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Where's your nearest person? Whenever I'm in Hollywood, it's always like you have to reload the page or load more, which I think is a great term for that site. Like 6 times before you even reach the dick pics that are more than a mile away. But if I'm up here at my place in Canada, it's like the first person is less than 3 miles away, and then the second person is less than 7 miles away, and it's like, wow.
Oh, so they're hot and ready.
There's I learned recently. I was at Comic-Con, and a friend, a new friend. I don't know. I want to shout him out because he rules for showing me this, but I don't know if he'd want me to because I don't know him well enough yet. I'll just use a first name. So shout out to Andy. I was having a drink with in his hotel room, and he informed me of a website called Sniffies. Sniffies is a site where there's only dick pics.
Oh.
So it's location based, like Grindr, like Squirt, but it shows you a map of your area, and it shows little bubbles all around you of where the people are who have uploaded a dick pic to this site. You cannot get to know them. You cannot exchange other things. You just have to be like, that's a dick I would like to experience. I'll reach out to that person and go meet them or whatever. It's so buck wild. It's so cut to the chase. And I'm like, honestly, I'm kind of on board for it existing, but I have such specific criteria of other things that I'm not going to use it. But still, like, man, what an age we live in.
No, we're in the future. Like this is the best period to live in.
Yeah. Also, Sniffies is the grossest name.
It is. It does not entail dick pic. It entails other factors I'm not trying to feel out.
Yeah.
I think my wife is listening in on in the other room. she's like, is this in the comic? No.
This is in Haunted Hill. This is an octopus. It's not an Ex-Wives of Frankenstein.
No, but what is an Ex-Wives of Frankenstein is one of the things that I want to like give you a high five on, even though you already know, but you understand that Frankenstein is not the monster, and that's what I love. Even though it's so basic, and it's like a big duh. At least you know that.
I'm going to say 2 things. 1, everyone always says Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the monster. Victor Frankenstein did not finish medical school. He stopped to dig up a bunch of corpses and have a bit of a breakdown. 2, Frankenstein is both Victor and the monster. The monster is a reflection of him when they dive into the cold water at the end in a super gay embrace, staring at each other. They are reflections of each other. Frankenstein is both the man and the thing he created.
This is I don't know. I do you ever get pushback when you take a established story and flip it into a pro gay narrative, especially like Frankenstein?
I don't know. I've never done it before.
This is brand new.
This is literally the first time I have ever done anything with IP that isn't like entirely created by me. I got asked to be in Travis Gibbs' Cthulhu Invades Neverland anthology earlier this year, and I was like, I don't work with other people's characters. Like everyone in comics kind of has this approach of like, most people are in comics because they want to write a character they love, a character they love that they read when they were a kid, and I just don't have that thing in me. And I've worked really hard to kind of carve out a career where I wouldn't have to, and now. When Travis asked, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. 1, I really hate Cthulhu, and 2, it's really just not my vibe. And then I had this idea for like, it's a war, and I really like Toodles as a character, especially in Hook. I hate Hook. It's a shitty movie, and don't at me, but just watch it as an adult. It's actually bad. But Toodles was always my favorite character. I had a little bit of a crush on him as a kid. And I thought, like, he's this weird coward who always like chases his, like, misses things because he's looking for his marbles. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see if there had been a war in Neverland, what happens to Toodles if he has followed his marbles and they've kept rolling away and he's missed the entire war? And now he's followed his marbles so far that he's so deep in Neverland that he doesn't even know if the war is still going on. And technically he can't age, but when he looks at himself in the marbles and sees his reflection, he sees the face of an old man, because war by its very nature changes you. And he occasionally has to stop in the quiet times and think about the fact that he kept pushing the marble to make it roll further. And I was like, I would like to write that story, though. So I did, for the very first time in my entire professional career of 30 some years. I did a thing about someone else's characters, and I managed to do it without any Cthulhu. There's one tentacle in a flashback single panel. And then I had Ex-Wives of Frankenstein in the back of my mind for years, and it had started out as this joke. And then it had, because like The Bride of Frankenstein and all of the, the blank of Frankenstein. And I thought, like, the characters I'm most interested in are the bride and Elizabeth. And so this joke had grown into a loose outline for a pilot script, and then a loose outline for a stage show, and then it had sort of fallen away again. And I was coming to the end of a couple of things, and I was sort of in between big projects, and I thought, let's just see if I can make this one work. And I had the first 8 pages in my head for about 3 years. I knew what the first scene would be. Any version of it was always going to start with the bride, in my version, going by the name Victoria. And she was standing in front of the mirror, putting on her lipstick naked, and then tracing all of the stitching on her body. Partly as a shout out to Boy Meets World, if you know, you know, and partly as a sort of like exploration of like being a beautiful woman who has been created by someone else, and highlighting the imperfections so that you can kind of normalize them to yourself, and playing a lot with like the language of self-help books. And so I had that from so long ago, from the very beginning of the idea. So I knew that. So I was like, I'll start drawing that and see what happens. I got to the end of the 8 pages, or the 7 pages, and I had like, there's a knock at the door. Originally the story was going to be entirely about her, and then I was like, I need both of them. I was going to sort of treat Elizabeth as this, like, sorry, you're hearing my dog make weird noises in the background. Great Danes are loud. Yeah. But it was going to be a like exploration of Victoria as she kind of examines what it's like to live in this world, and then have Elizabeth as a sort of spiritual, almost Biff Tannen-like presence, where she was just kind of all-encompassing of everything, and would always exist outside of the frame. By the way, that is not a reference to the movies; it's to the animated series. And hey, Norman, you okay? Why are you freaking out? Okay, there's Norman. Norman, I'm on a video. Do you want to? Okay. Do you want to? I'm going to talk about comics. Yeah.
Let me go add dogs to the tag here so that I can get a huge bump. There you go. There we go. Hell yeah.
So then I decided, like, no, I don't want to keep them apart. I like stories about people who are trying to be friends. So I bring her in at page 8. And then at that point, like, the whole script exploded. This thing that was in a little weird experiment that I was doing, 1 week into drawing, suddenly had a direction. And suddenly a week later, I had a first issue and an outline for the next 3 to create the entire thing. And the entire thing is created now, by the way. Like, this is the Kickstarter for issue 1, but all 4 issues are actually complete, which I'm quite excited about. So they like, anyone who's afraid of backing in issue 1, don't be. This thing is happening.
It's happening, and it's heavy. And
my Great Dane just sneezed on my Chihuahua, which was, I heard the sneeze and I heard every drip hit her. So
that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. So you led with this page, which is, that's Elizabeth, right?
That's Victoria.
Hey, Victoria. And she's putting on makeup, and at one point she decides to make up the scars. So
Yep.
there is some type of like personification with that.
Yep. It is. It's not to go like too deep and too weird, but I read a book when I was a kid. And anytime I'd find a book, I'd just pick it up and start reading it when I was a kid. And when my parents got divorced, I read a book that my dad had about how to make your kids love you after a divorce. And I read a book that my mother had about like how to feel beautiful after a divorce. And both books were messed up and things that have like stuck in my brain forever. And I hate that they're in there. But one of the things from the book that my mother had was about like using like lipstick to circle anything you think is a flaw and then write on your mirror, I am beautiful. And in this, she obviously traces every single line of stitching on her body, and on a page that's not in the book and not on the Kickstarter because it has some nipples in it because she is standing naked in front of a mirror.
Yay.
She writes, "I am beautiful," and the lipstick runs out because like there are so many things that she thinks are wrong with her that she can't even like using a brand new thing of lipstick, she can't even do it. And so I show her washing the lipstick off in the shower and just letting it all drain away.
Which is right here.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's so when I first found out that you had spun this into a gay narrative, which we didn't really go into the whole thing itself.
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein is in the book, but he's not with who he normally would be with.
No, he's been in the Arctic. Everyone thinks he's dead, but he's been found living in the Arctic Circle alone with his monster as a gay couple.
Is that like an allegory for something that like you've dealt with?
Loosely. I think that I had an argument with a professor when I was in college, where I, as a very stupid 19-year-old, said that okay, I'll jump way back, like long story longer. When I was 6, I had to give a book report, and the teacher assigned books, and I was constantly getting in trouble for reading the books that I wasn't meant to read. And she told me I had to do a book report on Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, the oldest possible, like the book for an older audience that we had in the classroom. And I'd read this book, I liked it, but I wasn't interested in talking about it. So the structure of it was we had to redraw the cover of the book that we'd read on a large piece of paper, and on the other side of it we wrote our book report, and then we had to hold up the cover and read the book report from the back of it. So I diligently copied the cover of Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, and on the back I wrote a book report on my favorite book at the time, Dracula. And my entire report was about how Dracula is a very gay story about men finding different ways to penetrate each other. And I got in what I would call a bunch of trouble, which is a pretty consistent thing in my life where like anytime I was given an assignment at school, I would make it gay and get in trouble.
Yeah.
So jump forward to me as a 19-year-old in college doing a paper about Gothic literature, and I made the argument that Frankenstein, the professor said something about like every story represents different fears, and Dracula is a fear of homosexuality because of the penetration stuff. And I can't remember what she said Frankenstein was about the fear of. And I said, I think it's also about homosexuality because it's about a man literally building something. Like it's a man trying to find a way to not need a woman to reproduce. And not only that, but to create his ideal image of something by making another man. And she said, and to be fair, at the time, all of my friends were dating people who looked exactly like them, which is a pretty common thread in my friend group. So it really seemed normal to me that someone, if they were wanting to have sex with someone, would just try and make a clone. And my professor said, that's not homosexuality, Richard. That's just narcissism. And I really held on to that. That actually features as a line in issue 2. But I think like that, the complicated nature of it is that Victor and the monster are living as a gay couple, and these two women, they're the ex-wives of Victor and the monster, are having to find this out in a world where they have to be very public about every reaction they have. They have not asked to be a part of this, but you know that everyone's going to be asking them their opinions. And when you go through a breakup, if you broke up because the other person cheated on you, you can be mad and sloppy on the internet. If you broke up because you just stopped liking each other, you can be mad and sloppy on the internet. Everything is hard all of the time. But if you break up because the other person comes out and does a very brave thing by coming out, you as the person who hasn't done that do not get that allowance. You do not get to be sloppy and angry on the internet. You have to be proud of them for their braveness. And that's sort of unfair to expect people to, in the instant after it, behave appropriately. And I wanted to I thought that was like a very interesting dynamic to put these two women in, because you know how whenever you go through something where someone does something and you can't talk about it, you can go to your friends because they understand.
Right.
Elizabeth and Victoria now are the only people who will understand what the other one is feeling. And what makes it tough is that neither of them like each other very much, because Victoria is mad that she was created for someone. She existed for 2 minutes before she was handed to the monster and said, "Here is your bride." She is largely identified by the fact that she's a green woman made up of other pieces. She has no memory of who her brain, where her brain comes from, where her parts come from. She spends a lot of her time on the internet buying things that she thinks someone her age should be nostalgic for, hoping it'll trigger something. Meanwhile, Elizabeth sort of views Victoria as like a cipher for the other woman, this younger, prettier, ideal version that her husband cobbled together from corpses. This thing that was on her kitchen table being stitched together for months while she was just trying to live her life and ignore the fact that her husband had a monster living in the house that he was probably sleeping with. And then on top of that, to go back to the original text, Elizabeth, like it's very early in the novel, Victor describes Elizabeth as this girl that his mother adopted because his mother saw her and said, "You're too pretty to live with a poor family. I will adopt you." And then gave her to Victor and said, "Here is your younger sister, Elizabeth. She's here for your every pleasure." And then he grows up and marries her. Like that's jacked up. And so Victoria is bitter because she doesn't think anyone can understand what it's like to be something that was a gift for someone else. And Elizabeth's the person who absolutely does understand that and thinks that Victoria is young and stupid and just, needs to grow up and accept the fact that other people have gone through the same shit as her.
Right.
Yeah. Not to give away everything.
No, here I am thinking that like I have a good narrative. I couldn't do this. You have this like immersive thought process that like I just don't have. And like I don't get it.
Look, I've been making comics for 31 years at this point. Like it's all I think about. I don't have work-life balance. I am right now, I decided to go back on Ritalin so that I can cut back down to 2.5 hours sleep a day instead of 4.
The worst part about that is that like you and me are on Travis Gibbs' book, which I was happy about until like just now. Now I'm like, crap. They're gonna like read past your shit. I'm gonna be like, oh, there's me.
I don't want to sound like a dick, but here's my favorite thing. Like, you know how it's always nice when someone compliments you?
Yeah.
Hot take. It's nice to be complimented. So I did this one anthology a few years ago, and every review of the anthology, and it was a very good anthology. Like, there's a lot of really great people in there. And I don't actually hold the opinion that my thing is like better than everyone else's or anything. I really don't. But one thing that kept happening was every review would mention my story by name as like the standout piece within it. Largely because it was the weirdest and grossest, but still, it was like Oh, in a sea of stories, my one was the one that people remembered because it was, and which is a success in the story because it was designed to make people uncomfortable forever. And so every time I've been in an anthology since then, my entire thought process is when someone asks me to be in an anthology, can I do a story that I think people will stick with people longer than anything else? Because in an anthology, it's essentially you are fighting to be remembered because people are going to read. I don't think many people read an entire anthology. I think most people read 5 or 6 stories from anything they pick up.
Right.
And so you're fighting to be the one that they remember. And so yes, we were in a direct battle in that book.
Man, it's me and Devin R. Scott.
Okay, yeah, right. So you've got the advantage of 2 of you.
Advantage. No, we're Travis's diversity hires.
Hey, come on! I'm a gay immigrant. I'm a diversity hire too, and I'm disabled.
No, he told me that he was gonna ask me to do like a gay character, and then he was like, "Just kidding," because you talked him out of it, supposedly.
I didn't. Oh, okay.
You didn't talk about it.
I didn't know you were in it until after you announced that you were in it.
Oh yeah, I didn't know how to like advertise it. That's not why we're here.
No, that's a much more complicated, swirling vortex of how do you talk about what you're doing in the world of comics.
Yeah, but so you mentioned at some point about this cover, about it having a whole bunch of like Easter eggs to it.
Yeah.
You gotta make it easy for me. I can't find nothing.
Okay, so this is the Laura Helsby cover. This was inspired by the idea of what I mentioned earlier. That pause was me remembering whether I'd said it or not while drinking here. That she is constantly buying things that she feels that she should be nostalgic for. So every object in this room is something that people have a fondness for. So like the game systems, which I'm not familiar with because I don't know video games at all. But like the records, the posters on the wall, there's things for festivals that she wouldn't have gotten to go to. There's a poster behind the word Frankenstein. There's a poster for a Hole concert that I wish I'd been to. And so Laura and I kind of just put together a list over a couple of weeks while they were on vacation, actually. And what was so cool about working with Laura is, by the way, Laura rules and is intimidatingly cool. And I am going to meet them when I'm in London later in the year. And I definitely feel like I'm not cool enough to hang out with them because they say specifically that they're Laura or Laurs, Laurz, if you're cool. I'm like, I can't say that unironically. I cannot use a nickname when talking about a person. And they are the only person in the world. They regularly call me Rich in emails. And like, I'm like, anyone else, I'd be like, you can't pull that off. And Laurs can. Anyway, we put together this list, and that while they were on vacation for a couple of weeks, and it was just so exciting because they couldn't stop thinking about doing this cover. They were meant to do it much later in the year, and then they couldn't stop, like they couldn't help themselves, so they made this thing. I did some like little tweaks to the color on this because I wanted it to be set at night just to give like a kind of uniformity to it all, I guess, and to put some glow on the screens. And the only regret I have is I think one of the best casual references is that the TV screen is actually showing the pause screen from
Mario.
Mario Kart, and that the highlighted thing on it is restart, because I think that it's like so fucking wonderful, the idea that Victoria would always be giving herself the option to just restart.
Yeah, I might need to like come to you for cover concepts.
This is the kind of thing where like I just want it as a huge like I want a giant poster of this and just to spend years looking through it. I love high angles. I love detailed shots. My book Shed that I wrote with Lucy Campagnolo is like it's the main woman in that runs a kind of junk shop, and all of my favorite stuff in it, the hardest stuff to draw that took the longest, but the stuff that I enjoyed the most is just scenes inside the junk shop where there's just shelves filled with crap. And I would like go around junk shops in my area just photographing every weird ass thing I could see so that I could have like, here's a vintage Mickey Mouse phone shown from a weird angle so you can't get me on copyright, and here are like strange chairs. Like I'm tired of seeing modern throwaway crap. I want to see stuff that when you've used it up is still good enough to sell to someone else.
Wait,
And that's what I wanted this room to look like.
Speaking of covers, this is not something that you drew.
No.
This is something that you created.
Yep. That is
then you drew on top of it.
Okay, so it is a full ass physical sculpture, every part of it. So it's it's paper mache made entirely with all of the paper is printouts on newsprint of chapter 20 of Frankenstein with all of the line breaks removed. I retyped the whole thing and removed all of the line breaks so that which is the chapter where they introduce the bride. And it's all I didn't paint it. I mixed the I painted the first version and it sort of pulled too weirdly and you couldn't read the stuff on it. So I mixed green paint and dye in with the glue so that I could dye each piece of paper as I was sticking it down. And then once the head was made, once the face was made, I photographed that, printed out the photograph, traced on all of the line work, and then used baking paper and did lipstick on to do the line of lipstick down the stitching. Then I scanned both of those and then printed them on a transparency, each on a separate transparency. And then those transparencies are clipped to things, little frame thingies that I have, and put in front of the camera. And then it's rephotographed through those. I'm not a great photographer because I got the camera during the process of making this, and I haven't used a real camera in probably 15 years. So there's some slight augmentation for sharpness. This version on here, I'm actually just noticing this is actually the mock-up, not the real final cover. And I can tell because there's a slight highlight on her left cheek that is where I was putting together where I was figuring out what was wrong with the original final version. So that's cool to know. The print version, that bit's not there. It's the other drawn version. But yeah, so all of the covers for all 4 issues, all my cover A's for the 4 issues that are coming out will be physical sculptures like this. And the second one, not to sound too ridiculous, but like I literally like incorporate 2 cell phones with pictures on them just because it seemed cooler. It's so fucking I don't know. I've done nothing but draw for probably 20 years. And then I was I kind of hadn't left my office for 7 days because of work. And literally not left the building. And I was like, what if I made everything harder? What if I just bought a bunch of weird shit and started making things? I watched like 1 4-minute thing about Dave McKean's studio, and I was like, that looks cool. Also, the guy, the boat next door to me there's this guy in there who he and I kind of compete. Like we never say it out loud, but we're definitely competing who can work later. And so he'll be in his boat until like 3 a.m. And so I'll just be working until like 3 or 5 because I just have to outlast him. But he also like takes long breaks to do karaoke by himself. But he has started doing these huge paintings on like palm fronds that fell down in the storm. And like he's a clothing designer and he does all these weird stencil things to create like new prints and stuff. And I'm like, I want to do physical stuff. I'm so sick of using a pen. So this was like the only way I could do this in my like, I don't want to pretend like my office is big, but it's still one office. You know, it's not an art studio. It's not a giant space with cement floors that I can fuck up. I have to work at a tiny little weird desk and be careful about where my paint drips. I ruined one printer.
Well, when you work in this like 3D-esque thing, I mean, like it's art times a trillion to me.
Thank you.
But you know, I'm also wowed by the most basic shit. I just
There's,
found out
there's
that I could
like
turn off.
a lot of like the green on like the green is on the original thing, but the kind of the varying greens on it are from my fucking like desk, like lamps that I have on my desk for drawing, with green cellophane and green crepe paper
Oh,
taped over them just to create like a softer light, and then like bounced off a green t-shirt of all fucking things just to give like the slight bluish green that comes in from the top right corner.
and this is from all the sex dungeons.
Yeah, you would be amazed how much time I spend like, look, if I'm at a sex club, you know, I'm always thinking about work. But I'll be, you know, pacing around, getting my steps in for the day, in the maze or whatever. But like, if I'm in one of the fancy ones where you can book a room for $50, you know, I'm in there with a notebook in between fuck sessions. You know, I'm in there like making notes and drawing pictures and keeping track of who's come and gone, so to speak. If you leave the door open to let people know you're interested in someone new joining you, but you're also sitting there drawing, they're like, I'm not going in there. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like some fucking Titanic fantasy you're having? No.
Well,
Get
I
out
mean,
of here
like
with
chip in, like pose for me.
you.
I don't know how that shit works. I can't go to it even if I could go. My wife says no. Something about being married and prenuptials or something like that. I already don't forgot.
I mean, look, I everyone has their own, whatever their own rules are. Like, I mean, you know, I love my husband very dearly, and we have a very clear rule of we can do whatever. What I would like is be able to like talk about it openly with him all of the time, because I like stories. And you know, if I have terrible sex with someone, I want nothing more than to go home and talk to my husband about it because it's funny. But his whole thing is he's like, just don't tell me until months after it happened because I want to pretend like it's in the past. He never wants to know current events. And I'm
Oh,
like, can I just lie and say it's old? So I always say to him, don't subscribe to my newsletter because I'm far too revealing there.
or, Richard's the best. Richard is what I want to be whenever I grow up.
God, I hope you're older than me.
Oh, no.
How old are you? You have
30.
children and a wife and a house.
Yeah, I'm 31.
Oh, fuck you. I'm 38.
Yeah.
God damn it. All right, so there's that. Here's the next cover. This is God damn it, this is so cool. Like Steph C with her stitched together nightmare figures, like just so good. That face is fucking beautiful. The electricity is beautiful. We went back and forth on some design stuff on this, and she like had this idea of it kind of being in a like on a surgical table, and I was like, nah, just like if we're gonna lean into the movie thing, just go full out, put her on the boards, have the electricity, have the Tesla coils, like just go wild. And she sent me the pencils, like very loose pencils with the layouts, and I was like, yep, this is great, go with it. And the next day, I see on Twitter that she's doing some like face studies, and she's taking a screen grab, and in the screen grab, you can see that she's referencing the characters from Death Becomes Her. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, I didn't mention Death Becomes Her. I never brought it up. All I'd done was I sent her the first issue and said, read this and see what, you know, what comes to your mind. And like, that's one of my favorite movies. I went, well, my friend and I went as Death Becomes Her for Halloween. I had the wig and I had the red dress, and I got 2 iPads and cut a big hole in the dress front and back. And then I put 2 iPads on FaceTime with each other in the holes in the dress so you could see right through me. That movie rules. And like, see, and you know, a lot of the like love-hate relationship between those two women was like really not necessarily an inspiration for this book, but like certainly very like informative to me because I saw that film. By the way, when I was 6 years old, when that film, 7 years old when that film came out, and Jack Ward, who was my only friend, told me about it as if it was like this like mythical, unattainable horror movie about a woman who gets shot through the stomach with a cannonball. And I wanted to see it so badly because I loved horror movies. And when I finally saw it, I was like, no, this is hilarious. I saw it when I was 8. When I say finally, I was 8, but it felt like an eternity. But it rules, right? It's so funny. It's so weird. It's just perfect. And like their relationship and the way they are always trying to one up each other, but really they're the only people who understand each other. That's so key to so much of what I write. And so like for Steph to just like read my book and be like, oh, this makes me think of Death Becomes Her was a perfect moment for me. It was like honestly like high point of making comics, high point of collaboration. Was perfect.
You know, that like artist to artist symmetry. It's the shit when it happens. It's also the absolute failure when it does not happen. So I get that on both terms.
I wrote a thing years ago where the artist was I was 22, I think, when I was writing it, and the artist I was writing for another company, and the artist they had hired was like 17 or 18 years old. And I was like, they're not going to know any of my references. Like I mean, I know that's actually like you get most of my references, right? Like you're 7 years, but you've been in the world a long time.
Right.
A 17-year-old when I'm 22 or 23 doesn't get what my references are because they just haven't had the things that change much faster. And so when I wrote the script for this artist, I wrote these like detailed as fuck descriptions of every panel. And I was doing all of these references to things because the film was the comic was very set in the world of film reference stuff. I'm not going to say the title of it because it's a thing I'm kind of ashamed that I was a part of because I think the other writer is kind of a piece of shit. But also, the concept was bad and I was 22 and I was working for money. But they wanted a lot of cool reference stuff, so I put a lot of it in. And I worked really hard to describe everything so that I wouldn't have to say like, here's a picture of this thing from this TV show, draw it in. Because I didn't want it to feel like a copy. I wanted it to feel referential. Anyway, then that artist dropped out of the project. And I was asked, do you have any recommendations? And I recommended this guy who I was like, who would be perfect for this. He'd be very good and he's fast and whatever. And he messages me when he sees the script and he's like, hey, Richard, like, I fucking know what Saved by the Bell is. Like, you don't need to describe the max in this kind of detail. And like, if you have a line where someone screams, why will you share my toothbrush if you won't why do I have to share my toothbrush when you won't share your body? I have of course seen that episode of Boy Meets World. You don't need. I was like, it wasn't for you, man. Like, I'm so happy we have you on board now because you know every single thing I've ever seen.
Richard, repeat that one more time.
No.
Okay. Remember how I told you how somebody might walk in?
Uh-huh.
That happened.
Well, that's fine. You missed it. The viewers saw it. They heard it.
That's enough. I hope you guys.
You can go back and watch it later, and you can message me and say like, "Huh, yeah, you're right. That wasn't worth repeating."
Well, I mean, like I got the whole gist of it because it's like, I mean, like that's what Family Guy's for. Yeah, well, that's what Family Guy's for. Like that's how we got all of our old stuff. Is that it was brought to us 6 times over. I know you hate that because I hate it too, but that's kind of how we like learn stuff.
Yeah, no, Family Guy's great. It's like a listicle but animated.
Yeah. No, what's a listicle?
It's when one testicle drifts to the side.
I really gotta just use context clues. I don't know why I didn't do that. That's on me. That's on me.
A listicle is an article that's really just a list. You
Is it
know
not?
this.
Is the testicle not the same?
No, a testicle is like when an article gets published for a limited viewership.
Oh,
Anyway, now you're on the emergency sewing kit. I've got real fucking sewing kits with pre-threaded needles, so that if you need to stitch your body back together on the go, you can. But it also comes with a QR code that lets you download the comic to any device immediately, so you can be stitching your arm back together. By the way, don't. That's not real advice,
don't do
obviously.
it.
I feel like I have to say, don't use needle and thread to put. I mean, I guess if it's an emergency, maybe, but just use super glue if you have it. Anyway, emergency sewing kit. You can put a button back on a shirt, I guess, but you can also read a comic while you're doing it.
You know what you should do is that you should include how to use the QR code.
You open your phone and first, okay, double check that you're not 100. Then open your phone, open the camera app. It will automatically recognize that it's a QR code, and then tap on the little address that shows up, and it'll download the fucking comic for you.
Oh right, well, like you just told a story about how you were like over explaining Saved by the Bell. So like because of
Yes,
that,
my
you should do
story
that
was
here.
about how I've learned to not over-explain things.
No, keep doing it. It's fun.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm sorry. I get amused by certain stuff.
There's a world where either like after this we're gonna jump in a Twitter space, and either Stokes will have or will not have watched this entire thing, and he will either be like, "You two are so fucking tiresome," or he'll be like, "How'd the thing go?"
More
there's
so,
no
how the
version
thing
of
go.
this where he says that was fun.
There is, yeah. It's the other universe that it will happen. But so you got the digital comic, you got the deluxe digital comic.
Yeah, so you
I
get
have to
like
start using that word. I
whole
used the wrong word last
buttload,
time.
whole buttload of extra shit. Um, uh, I decided that if once we reach our goal, the first stretch goal is going to be to add 4 extra pages to the print and the deluxe digital. So you'll get stuff about how the cover was made, the original character designs, the first page of the book that didn't get used. You can buy all 3 covers together. You can get a headshot with the book. So for basically $15 on top of whatever issue you buy, or cover you buy, you get an original piece of art. And you get the Richard Sucks collection for $70, where you get Octopus Haunted Hill, Too Hot for Octopus horror shorts, Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, a spit sticker, a Put Your Fingers in My Hole sticker, a Shitting Behind Hollywood print from Haunted Hill, and the Richard Sucks digital collection, where you get like 250 pages worth of other comics.
But these are steal. Now, so would you recommend this right here?
Yeah.
To what age group?
Honestly, this is an all ages book, and I mean that in the very genuine sense of the term. Like, you know how when people say all ages, they mean like it's for kids. I don't. I mean this is for everyone. I'm gonna tell a little anecdote here. I'm at Comic-Con, humble brag, and no, just a real brag. I was at Comic-Con, fuck off. And I'm walking around, and this woman sees. No, Alice, I will tell you what to do. And I see this woman sees me, and she says, "Are you Richard Fairgray?" I was like, "Absolutely." And she says, "Oh, I recognize you from your picture, your picture." I was like, "Okay." And she comes up to me, and she's like sticking out her arms as if she's gonna like hug me, but she can't kind of bring herself to do it. And she keeps kind of almost hugging me, and she starts like shaking, and she says, I read your book. I read your book." And by the way, I always do like a drawing of myself in the back of books. Four Color Heroes is the first book for a long time that's had a photograph of me. And then she says, "And when he gets in the car," and she just starts crying, and she crumbles to the floor like a puddle of a person. And I had to like help her up because she was crying so much, and she's hugging me, and she's saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." And I would say, like, it's fine. Like, I always assumed that, a fan of this level would be more like Kathy Bates in Misery, crushing my ankles with a sledgehammer. So this is actually healthier. Less sexy, but healthier. Imagine having a fan that liked you enough to crush your ankles. Like, I don't want it to happen, but like, it is a bit of a turn on. Anyway, she like my point is this: she was a grown ass adult woman, and this book spoke to her on a level that she couldn't stop crying on the floor of Comic-Con. And like, that's the best I've ever felt. Like, well, or at least about my works. You know, I've been on really big slides, so I can't say it's the best, but it was amazing. You know, like she genuinely had been touched by a story I'd told. So when I say it's all ages, I mean, you know, look at the box of Scrabble. It's for 8 to 80.
I never played Scrabble in my life. I don't know what that is.
Now the next one down is the book that made a marriage breakup.
I have this book. Hooray!
Have you read it?
Half of it.
Oh my god!
I'm very disorganized on my laptop.
It's so good,
it's somewhere on here. I was reading it though.
Did you get digital or physical?
I got digital.
How dare you?
Because at the time I was just doing, because like I've gotten like fucked over too much.
Dare you?
So I just don't do physical that much.
How dare you? No, it's fine. Come to a con that I'm at. You can see the physical one and be jealous of everyone else who has it. So this is the memoir that I mentioned earlier. I was at a con again, not to brag, Vancouver Fan Expo, and this woman comes up to my table and we're talking, and I tell her about Octopus, and she buys it, and she's kind of holding it, like hugging it a little bit. And I'm like, oh, she really likes this book. That's really cool. I'm pretty happy. And she says to me, I'm gonna read this tonight. I really want to tell you what I think of it. Okay? I promise. I was like, all right, whatever. Because, you know, people say whatever they say. The next morning, I get to my table, like, for the setup time, and she's already there. So I don't know if she's, like, connected to the con or something, but whatever. She's on the floor before customers, and she's waiting for me. And she says, I read this last night, and you've done so much more than me, and I want to do things and I haven't, and you do them, and you're not embarrassed to have done them, or you're not scared, but I don't know, I need to do more. And then she looks me in the eye and she grabs me by the arm and she says, I have always wanted to live in Australia. And so this morning, I booked flights to Australia, and I leave on Wednesday. And when I get home tonight, I'm telling my husband I'm leaving him. So thank you for that. And then she walked away.
Just like that?
Yep.
How dare you?
I am, I'm one of these gays out here just destroying straight marriage.
One of these gays out? No, I'm not reading Octopus. Are you crazy? I'll put that shit right in the fucking like recycle bin. No, man, no. Hell no. I need my
way to reveal that you use a PC recycle bin.
Yeah. Wait, are we not using PCs?
No, I think PC culture is going wild. I'm using a Mac.
Oh, I have no idea.
I am so sorry for that joke. I genuinely apologize. That was awful.
I can't believe you breaking up marriages.
And then Haunted Hill, my sloppy ass weird soap opera book. It's Eva has moved back to Hollywood because her wife got a really good museum job, the kind that women her age don't usually get. But so many elderly white men have been being arrested by teenagers for dressing up as monsters to scare away tourists that there's some openings. Eva, her Uber cancels on her and she has no choice but to get a ride home with the people in the 20s. And the rest of the book is just 6 issues of her getting home. It's like, it's one of those, it's After Hours, but sloppier. It's a shaggy dog adventure through Hollywood, and it fucking rules. I love this book so much. And yes, that is someone fisting a donut on the cover, because that happens in issue 1. And why wouldn't I want to draw that?
I mean, it's you don't lie about whatever is in the content, so I get that.
And then this is Too Hot for Octopus, which is the book I did during the Kickstarter for Octopus. It's a handwritten journal of like the full backstory and context and aftermath for the kind of 7 villainous men of the main story, lightly illustrated with pictures of the men and various other bits and pieces, but it kind of gives a lot more of the Richard lore. A little bit of it was my manager at the time kept saying things to me like I had to be more careful with the stories I was putting out there. Like he said the words, "Well, there are more eyes on your work right now, so you need to be a little more careful about what you say." And so I put out a book that has lines like, "And this guy was a real writer, and to the kid who'd spent a lot of time jerking off to a poster of R.L. Stine, that really meant something." Anyway, he's not my manager anymore. Who knows why? I fired him. That's why.
I fire people too. What's
Yeah.
this?
And Ghost. The first comic I ever published, I was 7 years old. I was blackmailing my school librarian, and I had an 8-page comic about a ghost who struggles with invisibility because no one's scared of him, so he has to get a ghost costume. And 30 years later, there are 11 issues of this, all of them little 8-page mini comics. This is 120 pages of dumb jokes about ghosts and about death. It's the cutest shit I'll ever do. I had sworn that it's also the highest selling book I've ever like issue 1 of that fucking thing has sold 30,000 copies at this point. It's insane. That's not true. It sold 22,400 copies. I don't
Still
know
a
why I
lot.
said 30,000, but whatever. It's a $2 book. I can't brag, but it rules. It just rules. And I swore it would be the end of it. And then I had a conversation with my mother where she told me that she had a really great dream where her and her friends were talking about what they'd do if they won the lottery. And it was so sad to me that even in her dream, she couldn't win the lottery. Her best possible dream that was good enough that she had to tell me about it was that she had a nice conversation with her friends. And so I wrote a 12th Ghost recently about not dreaming too big because Ghost embraces nihilism.
No, this is heavy. This is not in my alley at all.
And there's my husband's butt.
I was about to ask you who's the model for this. Now I know.
Yeah, that's Ray. He wouldn't let me draw the front for the back cover because he's selfish. But it is. But if you've read Haunted Hill online, the cover for issue 10, that is his nipple, with the ghost tattoo over it. So this is it's 4 short stories. It's got like 3 funny stories, like 2 funny stories about ghosts, 1 sweet story about like gratitude, and then it's got a fucking buck wild psychological thriller about a guy who goes to a party and everything's totally chill until he goes to the bathroom and finds corncob holders in the toothbrush cup and loses his damn mind trying to figure out why they'd be there. That, by the way, is the story that I mentioned earlier that Pete keeps getting referenced in reviews of that anthology as the thing that really haunted people.
The corncob holders?
Yeah.
It's kind of bothering me now, actually. Shit.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because best case scenario, they're eating corn while they're taking a shit.
Is that really the best case scenario?
Can you think, like, here's the thing. Everything is bad. Every single option for why they're there is bad. Are they picking their teeth with them? Are they stabbing themselves to jerk off in the shower? Or are they eating corn with their dirty, buttery hands while they're taking a dump? While they're visiting Dump City?
Visiting Dump City. That's my next album cover. I don't know, because now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm stressing about it.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me? Like, I
write horror. I write very good horror. I know how to horrify people. I just finished a story about a woman who orders Domino's because she's feeling bad about herself and forgets to turn off the pizza tracker and realizes that after she eats the pizza, it's still active and tracking it through her body.
Oh wow. No, thank you. So what this did for me is I would not be asking you to hop on Jazz at any time. Because I was gonna do it. I was like, maybe I need to like get a sub right. Nope, never mind. You're too spicy.
Yeah, no, I'm a nasty boy.
But I get called all the names, and it's just you.
I can't help it. And these are, I've just given a thank you to a number of women in my life who are very influential in terms of like how I Not just how I work, but like how I write.
There you go, Alice, right there.
Yeah, weird, right, Alice? Critique me, telling me what to do.
Just shows up.
Yes, these are the people who like pieces of conversations with them have inspired things in this book. So I wanted to give them all that credit.
I haven't. Where am I? I'm not on here. Oh, these are women. Never mind.
It's also weird. Christopher, I think that like, no, I don't think we've ever had a conversation that's made me say I want to include that in a book.
Oh, well, because we can't.
Because we haven't talked enough yet.
Right. But every time that we're about to, where are we at and who's in charge?
I mean, does it?
Most likely.
Does it?
I mean, you will like run up on you and be like, Rich, let me tell you about today.
Uh-huh.
No, you don't. you don't want to hear me say shit. I don't want to hear me say shit. Where are we
You're
at?
a fucking delight. I thought we were going to get so much messier than this. We've been so controlled.
I'm
we
on my
scrolled
best
through the
behavior.
whole campaign and everything. We didn't get distracted.
Yes, we did in the very beginning.
I mean, we mostly talked about snot, but I think it's really important. There are two topics that we haven't brought up, and I'm really proud of us, and we're not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they?
You know what they are. The two things that someone made a bet that we would talk about.
Oh.
And we didn't do it.
Because that's not your demographic. You don't care about no fucking femboys.
Don't say it. Now you just lost.
What?
Well,
at least we talk about the fucking buttholes. Ah, shit, that was the other one, wasn't it?
God damn it, Christopher.
Sauce. I'm doing the best I can. Let me see if I can do you right as a big apology. Where are you at? You're almost funded. You need numbers here.
I need $901.
Wait, hold on. 901. Yeah. Yep. How'd you do that?
Because I can look at numbers and figure them out.
But I thought you were like 97%. Whatever. So
you're on full screen. I can see the numbers.
Like, there's like an asterisk with how blind you are. Is Stevie Wonder like this?
I got told once. I have two Stevie Wonder stories. I got told once that Stevie Wonder was technically less blind than me. I don't know if that's true or not. But I was told that in my early 20s by an optometrist. So I just believed it. And so for a long time, when I would describe my blindness, I would say technically more blind than Stevie Wonder, which I think is probably wrong. I'm considered legally blind. So I have no vision in my left eye, and I have about 3% in my right eye. So it's somewhere between 97 and 98.5% blind. It's a nerve problem, not a lens problem. So glasses don't do much other than make me look like I can see better because it sort of magnifies this eye so it doesn't look so broken. It is largely aesthetic. As I get older, it gives a little bit of sharpness to things, but that's really it. But I can stick things into this eye without it really, I can't really feel that, which is kind of fun. I used to be able to get stuff much further in there. And I could get a paintbrush to stay in, but I can't anymore because I'm old.
What other stuff have you tried to put in there?
Mostly paintbrushes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's reasonable.
My other Stevie Wonder story is there's a homeless guy who I would walk past every day on the way to work, who looks exactly like Willie Nelson. And I found out he was really into comics, so I'd give him any comics I did when they came out. So life hack, don't back me on Kickstarter, just live on my path to work. So we'd get talking quite a bit. And then one day I saw him and he was just covered like head to toe in gold jewelry. And I said to him, I was like, Willie, where did you get all this gold? And he looks at me and he says, oh, Richard, I was visiting Stevie Wonder. And, it's funny, since he got his vision back, he doesn't like all his gold anymore. So he gave it to me. I said, stop right there, Willie. I don't want to know anymore. I am so happy with that story. It fucking rules. Any more details are going to ruin it. And I walked away. and that was right before lockdown, and he sort of vanished during the first lockdown. So I hope he's okay somewhere, but it's the world. And I kind of love that I will never find out the real reason, because the truth is he was still covered in gold.
There's
So
a moral. There's a whole moral to that story.
it doesn't matter what the truth is. He believed it, and now I get to believe it too.
The world still has magic in it sometimes.
Yep.
So you say you need 901.
Yep.
You're gonna get it.
I mean, I believe so.
But I want you to get more.
I want to get more too, because I have a thing that it's like it's sort of top secret right now, but I got a thing coming called the Gravediggers Club, where I got these fridge magnets of body parts that are going to be collectible, and I really want to be able to give those away for free with every print copy of the book. So I would really enjoy it if we got to get past the basic funding goal, so I can start talking about that and the adding 4 extra pages and the making the cover quality a little bit nicer and all of the other shit, because I just got the variant covers in for issue 2, including the sexy dress up fridge magnet nude variant that's coming out, and the top secret Jill Thompson watercolor variant that's coming out. And issue is going to be so fucking fire, you won't even believe it. So I think that people really want to jump on board this thing while they can, so that when issue 2 comes out in October, they won't be stuck, behind the 8 ball having to buy issue 1.
Wait, did you say October?
Yeah.
Richard, are we gonna fucking launch again?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Fuck,
I mean, are you? I'm. Everyone says don't do December, but I've got this book called "I'm Only Drawing Danny DeVito as the Penguin Until I Stop Wanting to Fuck Him," that I'm going to be releasing just before Christmas.
That'll work.
Yeah,
that'll work. No, I just.
Well, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, so I figure it's kind of thematic.
Yeah, but fuck, man, I don't want to launch next to you.
Why not? We draft off each other. Get each other's customers.
We don't.
Send your people my way.
I tried.
Your way.
They don't.
I got you on an update later this week. Don't even trip.
We'll see. I mean, have you seen any more since then?
I mean, I've had a bunch more backers since you did the update, but I don't know if they're from you, because I don't do that referral tag bullshit. I don't know how to. I'm not the reason I made this cover as a fucking sculpture is because I don't like computers.
You are an artist by and by, but I need you to love computers.
But computers are bad and dumb, and I hate them.
Well, you just told me about some damn squirt.org. You talking about?
No, I know. Look, I love the internet. I love the internet and all the dicks it gets me. But I met my best friend through silverdaddies.com. I met the man who I thought was the love of my life through that website. He turned out to be a monster later. The internet's great, but I don't know, man. I just like paper and making shit. I'm doing my next book, not the Danny DeVito one. That's all done with markers. But the next comic after Ex-Wives is mixed media watercolor and collage and pen and ink. I'm using a lot of light tables. It's fucking wild. I want to prove that you don't need computers to make shit look cool.
It's fucking disco. That's what it is.
Exactly.
I can only be as cool as you in theory.
I like that you were you 100% support jazz, but also here's disco.
Yeah, no. Yes, I'm that kind of person. People just found out that jazz is a punk comic.
Of course it is.
I try to make it black and white, but I guess people had to go find out from Cody. So there you go.
Well, he is the arbiter of taste for indie comics, apparently.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Of course it is.
Well, of course you look, acronyms are hard. Of course you have to call it jazz, not punk.
No.
I
But
will
yes.
say, like, it was bold of you to choose an acronym with a double Z in it because it's, I mean, and I'm not going to say you succeeded. Zealous
Oh,
zealots, it might be a little bit of a hat on a hat, but
yeah.
um, it's,
Yeah.
I think it would have been fucking weird if your book had been about zealous zookeepers. Hello.
It took me like less time than you think. It was really quick.
Do you like? Do you think the kind of pinnacle of acronyms is Stuart from Quailman? You know,
Yeah.
the Society to Undermine, Annoy, and Ruthlessly Torment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're never gonna beat that. Like Naked Gun 33 and a third tried, but and I know they came first, but fuck them. Stuart is the king.
You know what? Because you mentioned that, I do have a short story about that. I made a joke that Leslie Nielsen was gonna like pass away in high school, and then he died 24 hours later.
Jesus.
I got suspended for that, by the way. Like it was the most confusing. Like it was like, why am I in the office?
My friend and I have this thing where we always trying to figure out what's our Venn diagram of sexuality. Um, and we worked out it was like one of our kind of touchstones is the show Just Shoot Me, because I want to fuck the boss Jack, who's last name I can't the who fucking played George Siegel. I want to fuck George Siegel, and he wants to fuck Laura San Giacomo, but not from that show, but from her voicing Fox on Gargoyles.
Okay.
And so I think about this kind of like Venn diagram thing a lot. And I bought a Playboy magazine recently because it had an interview with Courtney Love, and it's a very old Playboy, and in it there is this I've never read a Playboy before, okay? And in it there is this whole photo shoot of Leslie Nielsen with different playmates, kind of recreating things from all his films. And there is this one page which is just him as Dracula in
Oh.
the shower with like one of the playmates.
Oh shit.
I'm like, that single page is my Venn diagram with someone, because I like elderly vampires and a lot of people like attractive young women.
That's wild. I know
Like
you.
that is my touchstone for like making it into the mainstream, is I can get that printed on a shirt and be like, hey, do you like one of these two things? Because then we have something in common.
Did you like scan it at least?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
I've emailed it to several people being like, hey, check it out.
This is my standard.
I'm mainstream now.
So okay. So I thank you for coming out, man. Thank you for even showing up. Thank you for making a great book and just being an overall artsy person with a lot of depth. Of course,
I
you've been
mean,
doing it for years, but the fact that you can like remain a certain way and not like succumb to the evils of creativity and be a fucking idiot. I won't be naming names
no, come
today.
on, name some names.
Oh no, because then I'm gonna get yelled at by a bunch of people.
Just say first names. No one will know who it is.
I don't even know his name. I just heard about him like last week. Evan something, Von Schreiber.
Don't even say that name.
Oh, now you tell me
yeah.
not to say it.
Well, no, I thought you were gonna do like a goof and name one of our friends.
Well, who's been working as long as you?
I mean, no one. I mean, no.
Okay, fine, Travis.
Look,
fine.
Oh, fuck off. He's been doing comics for 20 years. I've been doing them for 31. And he took a break.
You've been doing them for as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, my first published book came out when I was 7 years old, because I'm a fucking monster.
Are you sure it wasn't because of me being bored?
Yeah, actually, the dedication in there is to some guy I might meet later.
Yeah, I'm just not old enough for you. That's the whole takeaway. That's the what's that? Occam's razor? It's something like that.
No, it's not that at all.
God, close enough. I'll butcher anything I want. I don't have time for your rules. You spent 31 years doing this. I spent 2 years doing it.
God damn it.
I don't have to listen to you.
You spent 2 years doing it, and now you're the one interviewing me. I know
Yeah.
that's wrong.
Well, tough. You're Oprah and I'm Ricky Lake.
Okay. But like, two things. one of us has had tongue-to-tongue contact with John Waters, and the other one hasn't.
I don't know who John Waters is.
Jesus fucking Christ. Then you cannot be the Ricky Lake in this scenario.
Well, I can't be Oprah either.
Why not? You inspire people and give away cars while being
No.
deeply problematic to your workers.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. At some point when Stokes gets like super famous or whatever, he drops a biography book, I'll have a footnote, and he'll talk about everything that I did for Tap or Die.
Is this a different Stokes than I know?
No, this is that Stokes, the Stokes.
Oh,
different strokes.
and he'll be super famous. Like, is he going to do like a Timothy McVeigh situation, or what are we talking?
I know. See, that's wild. I know who that is. I don't know how I know. I know stuff. I know some stuff. No, he's gonna do like a documentary book at some point. Who knows? Like he'll like copy you and do one.
The other day, someone made like they were talking about a film, and I casually said what the like opening weekend gross was for that film from 7 years ago. I was like, what is wrong with my fucking brain? Like, I remember when I found out what the opening weekend gross for that film was, but it's not something I should have remembered. Like, it was just an argument I had 4 years ago with somebody about the success of a certain film.
It's just you like crammed data and it came up when it shouldn't have.
Yeah, I forgot to, and so then I look like a weirdo. I always have this problem where I remember too many things, and then someone will be like, "Oh my God, Richard, I haven't seen you in 5 years." And I'll be like, "No, we saw each other 4 years and 2 months ago because we were in like," and I'll like listen. Like, no, sorry, that's not a normal thing to know. Or I'll recite conversations. I'm a fucking broken mess. This is why I shouldn't leave. I should just stay in my office and make comics 100% of the time. Have no work-life balance.
We are the same people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Ricky Lake, you're Oprah.
Yeah. Can I be like Fat Oprah?
One, Ricky is short for Richard, firstly. True. Secondly, Oprah's been fat many times. Secondly, if anyone is going to beg Jonathan Demme to make a film and kind of like stall his career for years, I hope it's you, not me.
He's been fat multiple times. That's the truth, and I hate it. I hate that. That's the truth. she was fat on like one of the old covers, and I was like, oh, I guess we're back to what we were doing back then. What happened to all the books? Was that when like Martha Stewart was like in jail?
Oh my God. Isn't it so weird? Like that Martha Stewart went to prison, and we just kind of like that, like, we are both of the right age range where that was a huge fucking story and felt like it was a forever permanent thing. In the same way as like when Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting. Like, it's just these certain things have become like iconic in our minds. And we will forever remember that Martha Stewart went to prison. I don't know what for.
It was for what Caucasian crimes is always like prison worthy. It's like tax evasion or something like that.
Trying to get away with anything. So,
but yeah, and that's why I was like, tax evasion, and you're about to do some time for that. That's crazy.
And that's why I got Al Capone. Like, if Martha Stewart is like Al Capone, that kind of rules.
She has her own wine now.
Did she? Well,
maybe, I'm sorry, not her own wine, but she shares a special variant wine with Snoop Dogg under the what was it, like 13 Thieves brand or some shit like that?
The 19 Crimes.
Yeah, that one. And
that's okay. So, do you know about the history of that wine? This is fucked.
No.
So it's an Australian wine. It's quite good. It's not very good. It's quite good. It's quite cheap. I like it. But there's augmented reality on the bottles, so you can like all the criminals who are on there are real criminals, and they will like animate if you look at them through your phone and tell you shit about their history, whatever.
Oh.
And for them to put Snoop Dogg on one of them is like, it feels kind of fucked as like a thing. Like there's a problematic relationship there between Australia, a pretty famously historically racist country, and like them being like, we're gonna have one American. It's Snoop Dogg. He's a criminal now. Having Martha Stewart on there kind of rules, honestly.
It does.
but I do like the Snoop Dogg wine. It's $3.99 at my local Trader Joe's, and I like that about it a lot.
Oh, she also has the best cover. It's like Martha's Vineyard on that bottle.
Mm.
It's really good.
I haven't had her one yet, but you know, I like wine. I'm Richard Fairgray, and I like wine.
Well, then you should have been in the celebratory Twitter space for me when I got funded because I was drinking key lime pie wine, and Stokes made fun of me for like 10 minutes about it.
Where was I?
I
was probably busy doing shit.
I don't know. I needed help because it was some like really good wine, and he's like, "What are you doing drinking key lime pie wine?" I was like, "I don't know."
You funded day one though, you fucker.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I funded day one on my previous two, and it was a very good feeling. And I was like, I don't think I'll fund day one because I'm asking for a little bit more. And what I forgot was one, this is my first time doing it in American dollars, which means I have to make significantly more. And also, it's my first time doing a single issue where the price point is significantly lower. So I have more backers, like the average amount that people back for is so much lower this time. And it's like I have to write it on my mirror in lipstick. Remember basic fucking math, Richard. Don't get upset about it.
Oh, this is my first time getting funded too.
Oh yeah. How many times did you try before?
4.
Okay, I think I've only known you since the last one.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's fucking great.
It is. No, Cody was talking about how I should be using it as a comeback story for Kickstarter, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't know. I'm not Rocky. I can't do that.
Climbing stairs is hard.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to be a poster boy for shit that happens every week. I'm cool.
I just want to be the person. I want to get to a point where I can put out having a 14-book year has been rough. Because 14 books in the same year means you don't have enough time to promote any one of them before the next one kicks off, and so you're always kind of feeling a little bit behind. But I also really like being able to put out this many books at a time because I'm a workaholic, and I don't sleep is bed is a prison and sleep is practice for death. And I would like to never have to do it again. So I would like to get to a point where I can do 7 or 8 Kickstarters a year, get my books out to the world, and then have maybe 3 or 4 other books with different publishers or whatever. That's kind of the dream.
Not me. I can't do that. I don't have it in me. There's not enough Gatorade for me.
But see, because you have a life. You have a balanced, normal life.
Is it normal?
I mean, I don't know. You don't get to go to sex clubs, and that seems really weird to me.
I don't get to. It's not in the cards. No.
Huh. I mean, I'll say this. I will never take you to a sex club. So if we're ever at a convention together and you say, Richard, where's the sex club? I'm going to say, no, that's really a you on your own situation. Don't ask me.
But why not?
I always think it's so weird when you're at a sex club and you see people who know each other who have showed up together. I'm like, this is not a friend activity.
I mean, it feels like it would be. Richard,
look, it's different if they're if they're there to play together. That's one thing. But when people are just here's my buddy Roger. We show up here together, then separate and come back together and chat about who we met in the maze. That's weird.
I don't think so, Richard. Just imagine the whole scenario. You getting it on with somebody older than you, and I come around the corner, I'm like, woohoo! Go, Rich, go!
Yeah, but
get in there, Richard. I don't know.
I would like a cheering section.
Okay, so let's get it.
Okay.
There we go. I am so good
if you're ever in LA, Slammer, Sunday afternoon's a senior discount day, so obviously older crowd, I always go if I can. Just keeping it classy 24/7. Used to do kids' books.
We both have done kids' book. What are you talking about?
Jesus.
This is what happens to us. Kids' books do okay, and then we got to do our actual thing.
I did the adult stuff before I did kids' books. Actually, this might not be a little breadcrumb I want to drop, but fuck it.
But fuck it. Ha.
Nice. What's that? What's that Gillian? Is it Gillian Jacobs? Did a fuck. No, I'm gonna fuck up the joke. Never mind. No, I had to cover some legal expenses over the rights to something years and years and years ago, and so I made some short-term cash real fast, drawing some relatively extreme bear porn.
Okay.
And I'm a hairy fucker, so I just kind of used myself as the model, and I figured no one would
those
ever,
bears. Okay, never mind.
yeah, and no one would ever notice. And then someone was looking at my work at a convention, at my like all ages comic stuff, and they go, "I think I know your line work," and they pulled up the website, and I was like, "Nah, not me. I can't do that anymore.
Gotta clean up.
Gotta clean up." But I've learned my lesson. You can't clean up, because I did that interview where I accidentally described what a succatorium was to a group of children's librarians on a live stream. So,
hooray!
Yeah, we should end this. We're just rambling at this point.
We're not. One more question before you go.
All right.
Is Steven Seagal the age for you right now?
I haven't seen what Steven Seagal looks like for a long time. I always found him gross and unpleasant. Not to say I don't love his films. Under Siege 2: Dark Territory is obviously a modern day classic. But I also think he's everything. I might be misremembering this, but I think he's like a real piece of shit. Yeah. I kind of have here's a difficult thing with me. Like, one of the reasons that I've always liked casual sex with like strangers through Grindr and sex clubs and things is that because I don't like sex with men under 60, there's a much higher chance that the people I have sex with are going to have some really bad takes on stuff. So I would like to get in and get out before they want to have a conversation with me about what's wrong with my generation or other problematic shit. And that always comes with the tough price of I'm very attracted to sadness. And when that Jeb Bush clip came out where he delivered his impassioned speech and no one responded, and then he said, "Please clap," to use a Pat Shand expression, I bricked up. And I don't like what that says about me.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Please clap. Yo. Just sitting there rigid.
Just love that sadness. Just want to give him a little cuddle, make everything better with my dick. So I have to try and really work to be like, no, look, that person's a bad person. I'm not attracted to them. I'm really happy that I've never found out anything bad about Al Lewis. I've never found out anything bad about Anthony Fauci. I've never found out anything bad about Danny DeVito. Kind of my three main guys are hot and upstanding.
Richard's Angels.
Oh, and speaking of Charlie's Angels, William Daniels, voice of Charlie in the movies, Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. God damn.
I didn't mean to bring up any old people, y'all. I'm sorry. If you made it this far, please go check out Ex-Wives of Frankenstein 1. Richard Fairgray, thank you for coming out again, man.
Yeah, thank you.
We definitely got to do it again.
We definitely will. I'll be back on Kickstarter in October. Let's get sloppy then, when you can actually drink.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready that time. All right. For the rest of you guys, peace out.
All right. Bye, everyone.